Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and I guess today is Happy Black Friday. For those of you that celebrate that and are still into Black Fridays, Black Friday still a thing? Is that the question of the day? I don't think it is. The sales aren't like they used to be. You used to get like 80% off, 75% off stuff. Now you're getting 15, 20, 25% off. Not worth it. What percentage of the Bengals are we going to get this weekend, this Sunday, against the Pittsburgh Steelers? That's what we're waiting to find out. That's what we're waiting to see. Is the season over? Is there any hope? Hard not to have one eye on the future while one eye on the present. And I think that's kind of how this episode's going to go. We're going to talk about some things that I saw on Thursday during the Thanksgiving games that I think apply to the Bengals. And then we're going to move on to what we expect to see, what we'd like to see in terms of changes, and then preview the Sunday game. This is Bengals on the Brain. I'm Joe Goodberry. The show is brought to you by First Star Logistics. You still have a couple days to get in on the PlayStation 5 giveaway from First Star. You'll find that on Twitter at First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry. Look up Malik Wright's show and Twitter page. Dave Lapham's show and Twitter page. Make sure you're following those and subscribing to those if you're not already. And we've all retweeted it. The best place to find it is the First Star page to get in. You want to be in on these. And like I said, everyone that has won so far, I've said this in previous episodes, and it still remains true. I check every single time. Everyone that's won these prizes so far is somebody that follows me on Twitter. You got a good shot. I mean, that's better odds than any other contest you're going to get into. And PlayStation 5 right before Christmas would be a great gift. Starting with the Thursday holiday games, the Thanksgiving Day games, they celebrated John Madden. I thought that was awesome. Kid growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, I love John Madden, not just from the football game, but to me, he narrated, Fox NFL on Sundays. And I wonder if that's how kids will look at like Tony Romo and those guys. But to me, Summerall and Madden were the voices of football and that you're watching on TV. So I'm always down to celebrate Madden. The patch was weird, but whatever. I mean, it gets the point across. The first game, Lions and Packers. Packers get the upset. Two things that apply here and things we'll be watching for the rest of the year. Number one, that puts the Packers at 5-6 now, their record. If you're one of the people that are looking at draft position for the Bengals, and no judgment for me here. I mean, some people are like, hey, if they lose all these games, whatever. I don't think anyone's rooting for the Bengals to lose. That's a whole discussion. But if you're one of those people that are like, if they lose, if Jake Browning is terrible and the offense can't put up points and they don't win another game the rest of the year, hey, you can get all the way up to like pick number 8, right? And that would be cool for a lot of reasons. And it'd be fun during draft season. We would talk about a premium player being added to this roster. That would be, sometimes this happens to good teams. That's how the Cowboys get Micah Parsons, right? It's how the 49ers get Nick Bosa. So this happens, you take advantage of it, you get a premium player and you move on and you forget about it because your quarterback got hurt. If you're looking at that, the Packers move to 5-6. Bengals, whatever happens this weekend, if they lose, could also be at 5-6. Now, the tiebreakers all go by strength of schedule, if you're not aware. The Bengals have one of the highest strength of schedule, 0.577, I want to say, as of this moment. The 49ers and Seahawks game hasn't ended yet, but one team's going to get a win, one's going to get a loss. Probably doesn't change your strength of schedule, but that means they're going to slate behind every other team that has the same record as them. So at the end of the year, if they end up 8-9, they're going to pick behind all 8 and 9 teams because their strength of schedule is so high, which means they were probably the best team. They just had the harder schedule. So the team that has the worst record with the easiest schedule picks first, if that makes sense. But it is something to watch. I think Jordan Love is getting a little bit better for the Packers. And, if they can win a few more games, if you're on that end of the spectrum, they could bypass the Bengals and you can end up picking before the Packers. So it's worth mentioning and monitoring those teams that are right there. Another thing, the Packers won on the strength of their defense, in my opinion. The guy that made a big impact for them is somebody that is very similar to the Bengals' first round pick, Miles Murphy. And that's Rashawn Gary out of Michigan. And Gary was very similar to Murphy coming out of college. If you remember that profile that year, that scouting report of Miles Murphy, it read very similar. We're talking about a 5-star recruit, highly athletic, young dude that only had like the long arm move, didn't have a pass rush plan, didn't have counter moves, didn't know how to really sync his body with his moves at the same time. And that's a lot of the things we've seen so far with Miles Murphy. If you looked at last episode on Tuesday, Bengals on the Brain, we focus on Murphy a lot, and we're going to do that throughout the year now, through the remainder of the year. But Gary had 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and he can string together moves now. He had 3 sacks as a rookie. Wasn't a great rookie year. They always knew it'd be 2, 3 years down the line where you'd get a star player, or hoped, I should say. And the Bengals hoped the same. Whether your philosophy is that they should be drafting an immediate impact player, I think everyone would agree. Ideally, you want the guy who's good right now. But if all those guys are gone and you think, well, the next best upside at a premium position is a guy that we think can develop into a guy that's really good in 2 years, there's value in that. So I don't want to be one of the guys that kills Miles Murphy before he even has that chance to develop. I got a question on Twitter after showing some Miles Murphy clips and after Tuesday's episode, where they said, well, how is it possible that a guy comes out of college at that high of a recruit, big school, and doesn't have moves or doesn't know how to string his moves together and doesn't have one go-to move? I think first, and you see this all the way from high school and Pee Wee all the way on up. Anytime a guy that is bigger, stronger, more athletic than anyone else, and this isn't always true, but the truly special players, they usually are mentally just into it, right? They love football. They're big, they're fast, they're strong, right? So you take all the big, strong, fast guys. Now, which ones love the game and just can't get enough of it? Which guys become students of the game? So mentally, they love it, and they watch film and they develop themselves in the off season, and they learn everything they can technique wise. Uh, those guys separate from the guys who win with their athleticism and strength and never are able to put that other part into their game. Adding moves, adding more technique, more awareness of what you're doing, how to attack an opponent. Uh, and then you look at Miles Murphy, and I'm saying we don't know that that's the case. We don't really know what they're teaching them. You remember in the offseason, we were going through draft profiles. Brian Brzee was the defensive tackle there as well. And I remember watching and saying, he likes a spin move and he likes an arm over, but technique wise, man, he plays too tall. Sometimes he gets washed out in the run game, not really having great awareness and vision on the running back. And some of the responses there are like, hey, he hasn't played a lot because he had a lot of off the field things, injuries, and his sister, and maybe he needed more experience and more time. All of that may be true. But Murphy, I think, does need more time and experience. Remember, he was 21 when he was drafted. So if he's not a good player by the time he's 24, that's a problem. And I know we don't have the luxury of waiting, because like you could use a good left guard right now. You could use a good tight end right now. You could use a running back, a corner, a linebacker, whatever you may say. I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I just think that if 2025 rolls around and you may not have Hubbard or you may not have Hendrickson, or they're in the last year of their deals and they don't look like the same players, and you have a good player in Miles Murphy, is anyone going to be mad about it? So I think GMs make the pick with looking at the now, but also with a wide range of, okay, what is this team going to look like in 2 years? What is this team going to look like in 3 years? And they have to make selections and picks based on that, because it's a 4-year contract. It's a 5-year if it's a first round guy, and you have to do those things. So moving on, second game was the Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. I had to think about it for a second. I almost said Washington football team, which I wish they would have kept that name. But the Cowboys look good. The Cowboys have a very good offense, very good defense. The guy to talk about, I think there are really two things here to talk about. Number one, Dak Prescott is playing potentially at an MVP level. I think I don't even know if he's in the top 5 for odds. This is something I looked at last week and he wasn't, so he might be now after this game, but he keeps stacking good numbers. And the defenses he plays for the rest of the year, he could end up lighting it up for the rest of the year, and we can see him getting in that conversation. The defensive guy I wanted to talk about was Dalton Bland and the amount of plays he continues to make. And this is with the Cowboys losing Trevon Diggs for the season, right? And that's their ball hawk playmaking corner. And they have Bland in the slot at the time, and they're like, we don't want to move him out of there, but we really don't have anybody else. So let's kick around Bland outside, and he's just been fantastic. I mean, to get your hands on the ball this many times, and then to make plays at a historic rate, crazy.
2nd and 10. There it is! This is history! If Bland can take it the distance, this will be the record! Bland for the 5th time has a pick 6! It's never happened in the history of the NFL!
So when I look at Bland and how does this apply to the Bengals? Well, he went in the 5th round last year, 2022. The Bengals traded up in the 5th round last year, and they took Tyson Anderson, 1 pick before Dalton Bland. And now Dalton Bland was not considered a high prospect. He wasn't even on our radar. I never had him pegged to the Bengals or anything. This is completely hindsight. I never said that they should be taking Dalton Bland. But Braxton Jones was also the next pick there. It was the starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears. Darnell Wright's at right tackle. And you just look at it and you go, the Bengals are going to need to hit on some of these day 3 and undrafted guys. It was brought up how many Cowboys players they're getting production right now from day 3 and undrafted players. And they really are. And the Bengals aren't. I mean, who is the best current undrafted player on the roster? Trenton Irwin? That's fine. That's well and good, but is he a good player? Is he a cornerstone player? That's a high expectation. Don't get me wrong. The late game, one of the best undrafted players of all time, Jason Peters was playing, and I'm like, whew. To find one of those guys, he came out as a tight end out of Arkansas, got moved to tackle in the 2nd year, I want to say, or the beginning of the 2nd year. I'm not saying that should be the expectation, but the Bengals, looking at their undrafted history of recent, what is it, Ryan Hewitt? I know Vontaze Burfict was undrafted, but I think that's because no team was going to touch him, and the Bengals were willing to. Or else I don't know where he ends up. Maybe it's like the Vikings getting Ivan Pace this year, right? And he's been a really good undrafted linebacker, making an immediate impact as a rookie. But that's a long time ago now, right? And I was thinking of day 3 picks that the Bengals have hit on. Current day 3 guys that are making impacts. Cordell Volson, Charlie Jones, I guess, right? He's coming back. We'll see how he does. We'll see how Chase Brown does. We'll see how Andre Yosibach does. But they're not the Marvin Jones, the George Iloka, the Clint Bowling. Geno Atkins was a 4th round pick. TJ Hirschman's out, right? So, they're few and far between, but they do happen. I think about that with that 2011 to 2015 core. That roster was deep and good, and that roster was super strong. But when you get a 4th rounder like Clinton Bowling to pan out, when you get Marvin Jones and George Iloka in the 5th round to pan out, you get Perfect. You get Ryan Hewitt, even as a fullback. We would take that right now. That's a lot of players to hit. And I think if this next phase of Bengals not just the offense and defense, but the next phase of the Bengals roster construction, that's what I wanted to say, is to stay intact and stay good. They're going to have to hit on day 3 and undrafted players. Probably as important as hitting on your 1st and 2nd and 3rd round picks. Because once you pay Jamar, once you pay, and Joe's cap is are going up, but if you pay T. Higgins, if you pay DJ Reader this offseason, things are going to get super tight. They're going to be tight as it is. And they got a lot of cap space. We'll get into this. I mean, like I said, one eye on right now, one eye on the future. It's kind of how we're going to take it. If the Bengals are going to be able to compete with a top roster, It can't just be with the superstars of Burrow and Chase, right? And that's how they've done it. And that's why I think the team, I'm kind of having like, I'm questioning because I thought this was a top 5 roster coming into the year. And now I'm questioning, is it? Was it? Are they as deep as we thought? Are they as good as we thought? And a lot of that is they're not getting the immediate impacts from unknown players. And I think you need to have that. I'm watching the Seahawks offense against the Niners, and they're trying to go to Metcalf. They're trying to go to, and he's having a bad day. He's having an off day, or they're doubling him. And then Tyler Lockett gets 1 catch in the half. I'm like, okay, where's Jackson Smith and Jigba? Not an unknown player, but like the new addition to the offense. He should be making plays. Your known commodities start to be hyper focused on by the defense. You need these other guys to step up and make plays. They have to make an impact. Charlie Jones and Undrafted have to make an impact. That's how you keep your offense from becoming stagnant. You know, it's Thanksgiving. I live in Western New York. I'm talking to Bills family members, and they're talking to my dad, and he's like, yeah, James Cook right now. I'm loving James Cook and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. And I'm like, you know what? You're making a great point here because you know what you have in Diggs, and the defense knows what you have in Diggs, and they're trying to take him out. And your offense is trying to get him the ball. So how do you find the bonus plays? How do you get the bonus plays from these unexpected players? It's got to be the Shakir. It's got to be the Dalton Kincaid, first round pick. So don't get me wrong. I mean, he's supposed to do this, but you need that. James Cook been explosive for them in the run game. He made those 3 guys, not Diggs, not Josh Allen. Those 3 guys, the young guys, are probably why this offense will get back on track for the Bills. So we need that for the Bengals. If the Bengals offense is going to get back on track, is it going to be because Chase does something extra? No. If anything, it'll be because Higgins gets back and gets healthy, which we don't know if he will anytime soon. We don't know when that'll be. But it'll be because Charlie Jones adds some speed, because Tanner Hudson finally can play tight end, and rather than these other guys. It'll be because Chase Brown offers something at running back. It won't be because of the known commodities. It'll be because of the new additions, the unknowns, that'll take your offense to a new height. And that's what we need. And it's what the Bengals are desperately missing. And they're going to have to find these guys and continue to find these guys. You got to find a gem somewhere in these upcoming drafts. I'm going to focus on these late round guys when we get there to the spring, just as much as I focus on the top picks. Which leads me into things I'd like to see moving forward. And that alludes to using these young guys and making them a part of this offense. We'll get to the defense too, because Lou Anarumo already said Jordan Battle's the starter at safety. It already looks like DJ Turner's a starter at corner, just based on snap percentages and how that's been going the last month or so. And then Cam Taylor-Britt may not play, so you may have to anyways. But Miles Murphy's getting a big chunk lately. I hope he continues to get a big chunk on defense. I guess I said we'll get to defense. Kind of did it there. But I think, and it's going to be tough, I think you need to find out what you have in Charlie Jones and Andre Iosivas before you get to that final Week 18 game. And I say this because you could potentially lose Higgins and Boyd in the offseason. Both are free agents. So that means both guys want to stay on the field. These guys are playing for their contracts. They're playing for their money. That might be why you still get guys carrying, even though Joe Burrow's out. These guys are playing for a lot of money. But you've got to see if Charlie Jones could step in and be that guy next year. You got to see lesser chance, but you got to see if Yoshi can be that guy for Higgins. And if there's any doubt in either of them, or if you leave it in a complete unknown, if we get to the end of the year and Yoshi's only played, over the next 7 games here, if Yoshi only gets 5 snaps a game, we're going to have a problem. We're not going to know what he is. And I'm going to say you're going to need a receiver. And some people are going to say, no, they're going to let Yoshi be the number 2. You realize how scary that is and it hasn't happened yet. So we'll have this. We'll ring the alarms when it happens. I can just see it happening already, and it scares me. So got to use them. If figure out if he can be that guy. Same with Charlie Jones. What could you get right now by inserting Charlie Jones in the lineup? A little bit more speed, maybe a little more run after the catch. You could do some of the jet sweep stuff with him, put the mileage on him rather than Jamar Chase, who you're doing all the motion stuff with. You're going to wear him out eventually, right? I don't know if that's a thing. He seems like I've got a little Jamar Chase figure here, and I look whenever I say like Jamar Chase, my eyes want to go there. But for the final 7 weeks, let's see these guys. Let's see Cordell Volson. If you've been calling plays, and it appears this way in scheming plays, and it appears this when I'm watching tape, they've been trying to help Volson a little bit. Don't leave him exposed for as much as you possibly can, and which is leaving Kappa exposed and why he's had some of his bad games. I say expose Volson. For the final 7 games, put him on an island. Let's see what he can do. Let's see how he develops. Because if he's not, we gotta do something. We gotta make a move. You gotta try somebody else. Try Jackson Carman. Try Deontay Smith. Try Cody Ford. You gotta find out. Also, I would put Jonah Williams on an island out there. Not as much chip help. And you gotta try and win. If they win this game, they're gonna try and make the playoffs and try and stick with it. Maybe Browning can be decent. But if they run in a situation where they're out of it, leave Jonah exposed. Let's see how good Jonah actually is at right tackle. Because to me, if you're asking me, he's the same guy he's always been. He's not better at right tackle. He's just not exposed as much at right tackle. And I think he's still, numbers-wise, about to give up the same amount of pressures, just not as many sacks. Because sacks are a result of a play. They're not indicative of quality of play. Sacks don't mean how good or bad a player is. Now, if he gets up 20 sacks every single year, probably means he's getting beat a lot. But again, sacks are results-based stat. So Sunday, can the Bengals take on the Steelers? Steelers firing Matt Canada, their offensive coordinator. Can they take them on and handle that defense? That's really what the Steelers have stayed in games, defense, and just coming up with a big play when they need it. They'll have nothing on offense all day. And then Pickens will catch a 60-yard, 40-yard ball and score on it, right? Jalen Warren at running back, 73 yards, I think it was. There's an undrafted Chase Brown lookalike, number 30. Hey, Chase, watch that guy next year. Can you do that? Can you do the Jalen Warren stuff? That would be nice. But Kenny Pickett, will he be better with a new coordinator? Will they function more than 5 yards down the field at a time? It's going to give them a boost. Not knowing what the changes will be will give them a boost. The energy from them on their side will probably give them a boost. Can the Bengals defense rise up? That's something we have to see over the final 7 weeks. The defense has not been good enough. They're only good when they have a lead, which is not good enough because there are times you just don't have a lead. There's times where the offense needs you to jumpstart them once in a while without creating that magical defensive play, which they've done so many times. It's been 3 years now, so maybe that's just who they are. But it's hard to depend on that. They're not going to be able to play with a lead probably much the rest of the year. So let's see how good they actually are. Let's see the defense play fundamental, play sound. Let's see them tackle. Let's see them defend the run. Let's see the corners tackle. Let's see if anyone else can get a pass rush here. I think the defense has been a big letdown. It can't all be Jesse Bates, and maybe we will see with Jordan Battle going on. I was going to say it can't all be Bates and Bell, but Jackson Battle, I think Nick Scott was a big problem. And maybe Battle can fix a lot of that. But he's a rookie, so we'll see. But I thought he was sharp. He was fast, aware. Exactly everything we were told he was coming out of Alabama. If he can do that stuff again, I think we're in good shape. And the defense, at least on the back half, can pick it up. I'd like to see get our hands on more passes, especially in the secondary, watching these Thursday Thanksgiving games, interceptions all over the place. And I'm like, yeah, it's just been Cam Taylor-Britt really for us. Mike Hilton's not a big interception guy, so let's not expect too much. But let's get DJ Turner some picks here. Come on, Turner. I'd like to see the ball in his hands. I want to see how fast he is on a pick six. Throw an out route, let him undercut that, take it to the house. Let's clock him. with the GPS. But on offense, I do want to see how they lean on the run. If they go back to more wide zone stuff, more play action. Let's see what Mixon has left in the tank, because they have to make a decision there as well. They technically have another year on his deal. So let's lean on Mixon, see what happens. Maybe create some shot plays for Chase down the sideline. I just hope we can get enough. I don't want to watch an offense that is completely putrid. I'm talking 0 points, 7 points. Don't want that. 13 points, lose 16-13. I'll still probably be upset, but I will say, Jake Browning. It is what it is. So, Sunday, what do I think will happen? I think the Steelers do pull this out, because I'm one of the people that I'm not going to be very high on Browning unless he shows that he's different than what he was in preseason in the limited time we've seen him. I know Jordan Palmer was on Rich Eisen's show, said he was completely surprised by how good Browning was in offseason when they were training. Joe Burrow goes down there. A lot of other big name quarterbacks go down there and do the same thing. And he was like, this guy's good. This guy can play. So maybe we'll be shocked and surprised. That would be awesome. I would take that. Do you think that Eagles fans care that Nick Foles won that Super Bowl as the backup? No, they don't care. They're happy to have it. Would I care if Jake Browning came in and led them all the way? No, that'd be awesome. I do wonder though, because the way some fans will say things. Are you a Joe Burrow fan or are you a Bengals fan? And it's okay if you say, well, Joe Burrow brought me here, so I want to see that success. I do too. But if Browning did it, would you be mad? No one would be mad about it. So I'll meet you at the parade in February. But I feel like we've watched a lot of Browning preseason. John Ross, Washington days, watched a lot of that. I need to see that if he's better. Can he be better? Will he be better? I'm not very high on it. I think the Steelers take this game 17-13. But at least it'll be close and it'll be fun. This has been Bengals on the Brain. I'm Joe Goodberry. Show is brought to you by First Star Logistics. I already go on the negative there at the end. I don't think I've predicted a Bengals loss. I may have said I thought the 49ers were going to beat them, but I think that's pretty reasonable. Bengals, that's probably the best game of the year now for the Bengals, expecting the rest of the year to go the way it goes. Show is brought to you by First Star Logistics. If I didn't say that, my great partner, very thankful for them and helping them producing the show and helping me reach new heights and get to new people and have a new audience. And I appreciate all the listeners and watchers. Very thankful for those of you that click like and subscribe on these shows and leave a comment down below. All that helps promote this to new people, new Bengals fans, new football fans that may be interested in watching. So make sure you do that for me and help me out. I'm very thankful when you guys do that. And until next time, Uday, let's see how it goes.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.